شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن هدى للناس وبينات من الهدى والفرقان فمن شهد منكم الشهر فليصمه ومن كان مريضا أو على سفر فعدة من أيام أخر يريد الله بكم اليسر ولا يريد بكم العسر ولتكملوا العدة ولتكبروا الله على ما هداكم ولعلكم تشكرون.
The pigmentation of the Prophet. The Prophet ﷺ, just like anything else about him, is clearly detailed and documented. Detailed and documented. How he dressed, how he slept, how he ate, how he walked, how he talked. What size was his hands, his feet? Was the Prophet ﷺ forehead large or not? The Prophet ﷺ was neither fair-skinned, nor was he very dark-skinned. He was described as having a middle complexion. And to be extremely handsome and pleasing to look at, as if his face was like the moon, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So the narrations, if a person takes a narration, whether it's authentic or not, it says that the man entered the masjid and says, who is the one who claims to be a prophet? And they say, this white man. And then others who take the narration, that the Prophet says, asma, he was brown skinned. Both of them are taking one narration incompletely from the other. So that which is correct is that the Prophet ﷺ was neither extremely fair, he wasn't fair-skinned, nor was he extremely rich, dark-skinned. His complexion was in the middle. And it's relative. Comparing someone, let's take the Prophet Isa a.s. and Musa a.s. Musa a.s. was described as having brown to dark skin. And Isa alayhi was described as having relatively lighter skin with reddish tinge to his skin. So the Prophet ﷺ would be considered to be, compared to Musa, he would be light. And compared to Isa, he would be brown. So obviously, pigmentation is always relative. You look at, people that come from Europe, someone who's Irish is not like someone who's Sicilian or Italian. And they're both from the European continent or even France. Someone from Scotland, certain parts of England. You have pale, and then you have just Caucasian. And the same applies to people that come from races of color, whether they're of African ancestry or Asian ancestry, the native founders of this country. You have some that are very dark, and have some that aren't as dark. So it varies. So it's always going to be what? Relative. It's always going to be relative.
I could answer that question because I seen on Facebook today, they had a picture of a relative of the Prophet. His name was Sheikh Muhammad. Matter of fact, I just seen it. And he was on color.
Well, right. The concept is that, when you start talking about genes, oftentimes, I'm not saying it's like the unseen, but it's similar to the unseen. It's similar to the unseen. I like you saying this. Part of it is the unseen. You don't know how it works. You may think it looks like, you don't know what your forefathers used to be like. A person could be light-skinned and have a dark-skinned child. Or the opposite, or a mixture. The man who came, and the Prophet ﷺ, he came to the Prophet and he asked him, he said, my wife gave birth to a black son. How is this? Did my wife sleep with a black man? So the Prophet ﷺ, what did he say to this man? He says, he says, perhaps one of your forefathers is black. What's the problem? Someone that you don't know about, there's a black man. So he asked him, you know, what do you have of camels? And he told him the colors of his camels. And he asked him, are there any other colors in the camels that have different colors, different pigmentation or spots or whatever? And he said, yes. He said, how is that? He says, perhaps one of the forefathers of the camel. He says, well, that's what happened to your son. In other words, one of your forefathers, okay, so the Prophet intellectually checkmated him. He outwitted him. Okay, and it's something that he couldn't refute. So a person, when you start talking about lineage, one can be a descendant of someone and married to another race, married to another tribe, and from there the fairness comes, or the darkness comes, or the slender nose. Look at that. That's true. So yeah, I mean, many people, they get caught up when they think of a descendant that a person has to look directly like that. That's falsehood. Okay, and then the concept of what makes a person a part of one's ancestry. Right. Doesn't have to be direct. You see what I'm saying to you? Why could it? Why could it?
Especially when you're talking about hundreds of years later.
There you go. Different climates, different regions. It's all different types of factors.
My great grandmother, she's white.
Exactly. Yeah. See what I'm saying? And so someone will look at you and they don't think you okay. You go overseas. Let's say you made Hajj or Umrah. They say, where you from? Nigeria, and they wouldn't believe. They'll say you're lying. And it's not saying it's a virtue or anything. We're just talking a reality, okay? They wouldn't believe that if you said that. You said my great grandmother was white. It doesn't necessarily. How can that? Genes, you know, and as you said, we were talking about this before. Okay, black people in America, one way or another, is some type of relative that they have, Native Indian or white or something, Creole, this and that. Whether skin is dark, whether it's light, whether your hair is curly or naughty, not whatever. Genes don't work how we want them to work. Right. But oftentimes people, they get so caught up on genes and blood and race and color. And oftentimes you call somebody a racist or prejudiced when in actuality you may racist be prejudiced. And somebody's extremism pushes you to be extreme. It happens all of the time, especially among Muslims. Okay, no matter what someone did to you or oppressed you, your forefathers, that is never ever a means of forcing you to go and remain upon extremism. You may go to extremism, but not to remain. You oppress me, so I have to take it to the next level against you now. Extremely now. I have no option. But it's what? Temporary. I'm not going to remain upon that extremism. You understand this? So if someone has oppressed me and they push me to that extreme level, black people are nothing. Animals, dogs, apes. That's an extremity. So it's going to push somebody to talk about the virtue of black people, this, that, so on. Okay, tell you. But you're not supposed to do what now? Stay there. Collapse. Now you have to come back down to which is balanced. You see what I'm saying to you? Let alone the concept of people claiming to be descendants of the Prophet ﷺ, which is a virtue if you have Iman, if you have taqwa in Islam. As far as if you just say I'm a relative of the Prophet, you don't do that, doesn't help you out at all. You see what I'm saying to you? So oftentimes people, alhamdulillah, they have a love for the Rasul ﷺ, which every Muslim has to have. But it's a balance and it's a limit. And like you said, you loving the Prophet ﷺ should never force you to have an inaccuracy. Some people, everybody claims, I'm Sharif, my father is Sharif. And the person's lineage is not to the Prophet ﷺ. You understand what I'm saying to you? The Prophet's companions that he loved the most, those who weren't from Ahlul Bayt. Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anhu wasn't Ahlul Bayt. Or Umar radiallahu anhu. Why did that? So, inna akramakum indallahi atqakum. Indeed, Allah is all-knowing, all-aware. He says at the end of the verse, Allah says the best of you are those who have most taqwa. And those who have what? Most taqwa. And indeed, the Prophet ﷺ, it was people that he loved that weren't from his ancestry. Osama ibn Zayd, radiallahu anhu. You look at that story. What was the complexion of his father, Zayd? And what they used to say about him. One was dark and one was light. And that was his son. The Prophet looked at his feet. He says, he says, this is your son. No doubt. Look at your feet. Your heel, your big toe. As we say. You see what I'm saying to you? No doubt. That's your granddaddy's toe. You see what I'm saying to you? So, the Prophet, he loved Osama. Alright? And there was people that was from his own tribe, his own ancestry, whom he hated. And they hated him. So what's important is the inside of a person, not the outside of a person. And we are people who accept the haqq and reject falsehood, no matter what. If there's a virtue of black people and what they did, that's the truth, we accept it. And it's not for someone to say, no, you accept the haqq. But we don't accept something that's inaccurate and make up stuff. Of full black, white, yellow, purple, green. The haqq is the haqq and the falsehood is the falsehood. And shaitan doesn't care how you go to the hellfire. He doesn't care if you go to the hellfire being a Christian, a Jew, if you go to the hellfire under this banner, under this thing, black, whatever, he doesn't care. As long as he gets you in them, Allah says, he only calls his group for them to be in the denizens of the fire. That's the only thing shaitan cares about. He doesn't care how you go to Jahannam. You go to hellfire because it's something that you say no and believe about black people, that's not true. He don't care. Doesn't care. So, yani, the person has to be smart, wise, about the trick and the plot of shaitan. And we have to always keep on in mind that shaitan does not discriminate. Many people, they think that he does. Shaitan doesn't discriminate. Wallahu a'lam.